Brazil's golden boy, the next Pelé, their World Cup savior. Then suddenly he became the most mocked player in football history. His own country turned on him. What destroys a legacy this badly? This is the rise and fall of Neymar. It all started in Mogi das Cruzes, a small town just outside São Paulo. Neymar da Silva Santos Jr., born February 5, 1992. His father was a failed footballer. His mother cleaned houses to pay the bills. But their son had a gift. At just 11 years old, Santos FC, the club that gave us Pelé and Robinho, spotted him playing street football. The potential was undeniable. By 17, he was already a professional, tearing apart seasoned defenders with skills nobody had ever seen. In his first 2 seasons, he scored 54 goals. The comparisons began immediately. He was the next Pelé, the next Ronaldinho. He was Brazil's savior. The pressure was immense, but for a while, he thrived under it. He was destined for greatness, and the biggest stage in the world was calling. In May 2013, Barcelona came knocking, paying €57 million for the 21-year-old phenom. He was joining the best player on the planet, Lionel Messi. On June 6, 2015, in Berlin, they reached the pinnacle. It was the Champions League final, and Neymar scored. Barcelona won. At just 23 years old, he had conquered Europe. In 4 seasons, he scored 122 goals and won 13 trophies. He was at his peak. This was the moment everything should have continued upward, the moment his legacy was meant to be cemented. But it wasn't. Back home, an entire nation was watching. The 2014 World Cup on Brazilian soil. It had been 64 years since they'd won it at home, and the weight of expectation was crushing. Neymar carried them. Through the group stage, he delivered 2 goals and 2 assists. Brazil was alive because of him. Then came July 4th, the quarter-final against Colombia. In the 88th minute, Juan Zuniga's knee crashed into Neymar's back. The diagnosis was devastating, a fractured third vertebra. As he was carried off the field in tears, you could feel the hope of a nation drain away. Brazil's World Cup was over, their golden boy was gone. In the semi-final, they faced Germany. The result? 7-1. The most humiliating defeat in Brazilian football history. The world saw a team fall apart. Brazil needed him, and he wasn't there. Then came the decision that changed everything. August 3rd, 2017. Paris Saint-Germain paid a staggering €222 million, a world record transfer fee that still stands today. Neymar left Barcelona. He left Messi. He left Champions League glory. For what? The world had one answer: money. He was leaving Messi's shadow, not for a new challenge, but for a bigger paycheck. He landed in League One, a competition derided by many as the Farmers' League. And sure, Neymar dominated. He scored hat tricks against teams most fans had never heard of. But what about the trophy he was bought to win? The Champions League? Season after season, it ended in heartbreak for PSG. Round of 16, knocked out. Again. Round of 16, knocked out. Again. The greatest player of his generation seemed to be wasting his prime years in France. And then, the 2018 World Cup in Russia. The world was watching, and Neymar gave them a show, just not the one they expected. He spent a total of 14 minutes on the ground during the tournament. 14 minutes of rolling, diving, and theatrics. The memes exploded. The Neymar challenge went viral, with people all over the world filming themselves rolling down streets, in offices, through supermarkets. He became a joke. The most talented player in the world had been reduced to a meme. When Brazil was knocked out by Belgium in the quarterfinals, Neymar cried. But this time, the world felt no sympathy. The problems didn't stop there. The injuries began to pile up, becoming a constant theme of his career. In February 2018, a metatarsal fracture put him out for 3 months, forcing him to miss the crucial Champions League knockout stages. A year later, in January 2019, it was the same injury on the same foot. Another 10 weeks on the sidelines. Another Champions League campaign watched from the stands. Over 6 years at PSG, he missed a staggering 112 games. The narrative shifted. They called him made of glass. Brazil's golden boy, once seen as invincible, had become fragile. While his contemporaries, Messi and Ronaldo, were still collecting Ballon d'Ors and breaking records, Neymar was becoming a permanent fixture in the medical room. His potential was being squandered, one injury at a time. The 2022 World Cup in Qatar felt like his last chance. At 30 years old, this had to be it. In the quarterfinal against Croatia, deep into extra time, he produced a moment of magic. A brilliant goal. He cried, overwhelmed by the moment. He had just equaled Pelé's all-time goal-scoring record for Brazil, 77 goals. It was a historic achievement. But the joy was short-lived. Croatia equalized moments later. The game went to penalties, and Brazil lost. The dream was over. This time, the reaction back home was brutal. His own people turned on him. There were videos of fans burning his jersey. The social media hate was relentless. He was called a failure, a disgrace, a showman who never delivered when it mattered most. The boy who was supposed to save Brazilian football had become its ultimate villain. So, what comes next when the dream dies? In August 2023, the final chapter of his European career was written. Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia offered a contract worth 90 million euros per year. At 31, an age where many greats are still competing at the highest level, Neymar chose to leave the elite stage of football behind. From the boy destined to be the next Pelé, to the man who became a meme. From Brazil's savior to a player many of his own countrymen resent. The story of Neymar is a tragedy of unfulfilled potential. A story of what could have been. A legacy defined not by the trophies he won, but by the expectations he couldn't meet and the injuries that held him back. The talent was generational, but the career leaves us with one haunting question. What went wrong? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the world of football. See you next time.